Hi, my name is Jeremy Brunansky, and you're about to watch a brand new episode of Brunansky's Vlog. This is a weekly show that drops every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. In this show, we cover movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. If this is your first time with us, consider clicking that subscribe button. For everybody who's returning, thank you so much. And as always, if you enjoy any portion of this show, give me that thumbs up button. Let's go ahead and cut now to this week's episode. Good morning. It's Monday morning. It's 10 a.m. PST. You're right here on YouTube, which means it's time for another episode of Brunansky's Vlog. We got a lot of great things to talk about this week. We got some hot news stories that we're going to dive deep into and take a look at. Plus, don't go anywhere once the news is done, because we have two movie reviews that we're going to take a look at for Annihilation and Game Night. Spoiler alert, these are spoiler-filled reviews. So if you have not seen Game Night or Annihilation and you don't want anything ruined, you may want to just skip past those right to the very next segment, which will take a look at what's arriving at your local theater, what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray this week, as well as Certified Rad. Also wanted to mention that all of the news stories that we talk about, you can find the links for the stories in the description box below. So go ahead and expand that if you want to read along the article while I discuss it, and then feel free to jump into the comment section and leave your thoughts. All right, I don't want to take up any more time on this introduction. It's 10 a.m. PST. You're on YouTube watching Brunansky's Vlog. Let's go ahead and roll now to the news. In the news, Disney is busy planning its film and television schedule for their new streaming service, which includes some old favorites. The official launch date has not been released. Link for the Hollywood Reporter article in the description box below. So if you're a Disney fan like I am, this is pretty good news because it continues to instill in us faith that Disney is always making sure that whatever they do well. So it's nice to see Disney stepping up to the plate and saying, look, I know that the official launch isn't going to be until tentatively fall of next year, 2019, but we need to make sure that when we launch, all of our ducks are in a row. That way you guys, once you sign up for the streaming service, we're still waiting to find out what the price points are. So we'll have this streaming service that has content available immediately. So once it launches, we've already started paying for the monthly fee for whatever it's going to cost for Disney. We're able to log on and check out all of this new content that they're going to drop. Plus, we'll also be able to hopefully revisit some of their older films that we've grown up loving or have recently discovered, depending upon how many movies you watch and how long you've been following Disney. But according to the article, they've got some TV shows in the works, and we don't really dive into TV too much, but we do talk about streaming services and reviews for things that are available for streaming services in the DVD and VOD playlist. So I wanted to just list a couple things off from the article that Disney said they're going to be working on for the release. Trusty notepad. So in the article, they talk about TV shows being spun for The Muppets, Star Wars, High School Musical, Monsters, Inc., and The Mighty Ducks. So there's a lot already set up where they're going to revisit some older things that we really enjoyed or have enjoyed or continue to enjoy in the case of Star Wars and The Muppets. And they're going to give us fresh content in a serial form, right? Because television is serialized. We get 8 episodes, 12 episodes, 20 episodes, whatever the case may be, depending upon the show, the network, etc. But we can trust that once Disney gets this service up and running now, we're going to have content available to us. It's not just a movie. That's not just going to be going back to watch some of our old favorites. Fresh new stuff that's available for us, which I think is pretty dope. In the article, they also talked about a couple movies that they're looking to reboot for the streaming service. So, notepad. So in the article, they talk about The Parent Trap, Father of the Bride, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So old favorites, right? Especially with The Parent Trap. The Parent Trap was made and then they had back in the 60s. And then they had like sequels to it, and then they redid it, I think, back in the 90s. And now here we go, we're gonna get a brand new one specifically for this new Disney streaming service. And right now in America, I don't know what it is for the rest of the world, the divorce rate / separation rate is hovering between 42 to 50%. Why not make a movie about parents who get divorced and their children have to figure out a creative and clever way to get their parents back together? So I think this could work. I think it still fits in the popular zeitgeist and the popular framing of our society here in America. I still think it's topical. So why not try and get this rebooted for a streaming service specific to Disney? Father of the Bride, Steve Martin, Martin Short, great duo. These guys knocked it out of the park as far as comedy goes with these films. Love the Father of the Bride series so much. And I'm hoping that this new reboot, whatever it's going to be, is just as enjoyable as the originals. And finally, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. With the success that Marvel and Disney had with Ant-Man, and now they're getting ready to release Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's not really a big surprise for me that they wanted to go back and revisit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, because we've already seen what the technology is capable of doing in Ant-Man, as well as the trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So if they can use that technology to bring this life, this world back together for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, why not try and do it straight for the streaming service? I think it could work. I think it could be a lot of fun, and it might look good too, right? It might not look like cheesy or hokey or anything like that. So I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that all of the reboots that they do, or even new original content as far as films are concerned for their streaming service, really deliver on something special, and maybe even elevate films that are available for streaming services to that next level. Because right now, I really think that that's where streaming services want to go, and maybe Disney will be the one to break through the barrier and really deliver solid content movie-wise on a streaming service. Sound off below in the comments section with your thoughts about the new Disney streaming service, as well as the TV shows and films that they're looking to do for the official launch. Universal has announced that Jurassic World is getting a third film in the series and will hit theaters in June of 2021, with Emily Carmichael and Colin Trevorrow penning the script. Link for the Variety article in the show notes below. So there's a part of me that heard the story and was like, oh, okay, cool. So we're gonna get 3 films out of this, not just 2. But then like there's this curiosity that danced around in my head asking questions like, well, does that mean that this next film that drops this summer like has a lot of questions unanswered, and we just are gonna leave the theater kind of confused going, wait, well, what was that? What was this? And they realized it and they went, you know what, we better make a third movie? Or does it mostly wrap everything up and then they looked at it and went, you know what, we still can make a third movie and we can really kind of lock down what we want to do and what we want to say for this franchise by putting one more film out there. So I'm hoping it's the latter, because I would like to sit through Jurassic World 2 and walk out of the theater going, wow, that was really fun, as opposed to walking out of the theater going, wow, I really have so many questions now because of this film. Not questions like, man, we can really dig into this and talk about it and discuss it, but questions like, why did they do this? What's going on with this character? Why did the story go that way? Now we have to wait for a third film before we get these answers. Like, I'm hoping it's not that. So fingers crossed that we walk out of Jurassic World 2 just going, wow, that was great. I can't wait to see the third one, as opposed to, man, I really need to see the third one so I understand what happened in that film. So there's a part of me that believes that this news was actually just a clever marketing ploy, because maybe they don't want to release another trailer because it's still a couple months away and they don't want to show too much footage, which is perfectly understandable. And I'm actually way on board with that, because sometimes trailers show a little bit too much and then it kind of ruins the movie for us. But if they're trying to hold back, but they just need to keep the press going and keep that advertising and marketing machine moving, why not release news about a film that's going to be coming out in a couple years? Because now we're talking about it, and we're also talking about the sequel that's going to be coming out in a couple months. So hopefully this was just a clever marketing ploy that's working. So the trailers, while I've enjoyed like the visuals of the trailers, they haven't really like sold me on the movie itself. I don't really understand what the film is going to be about entirely. I've just gathered that they're going back to the island to save dinosaurs for I don't know what reason. There's a volcano. I don't know why there's a volcano. And there's going to be a court hearing where they talk about the value of the life of the dinosaurs and how they were there before us. This is all information that we get from the trailers, but again, it doesn't really tell us much about the film, so I can't really say like it's going to knock it out of the park like I felt Jurassic World did, because I really enjoyed Jurassic World, and I still enjoy it when I watch it on replay, on DVD and Blu-ray. So I'm hoping that this film is able to deliver as much as Jurassic World did, but the trailers really haven't done it for me so far as convincing me that the story is just going to be just a grand slam story that just really takes us on this adventure with these dinosaurs. Because if the whole purpose of the film is like to bring dinosaurs back to civilization and then kind of like sell them off or give them to zoos or whatever the case may be, we've kind of already seen that in one of the films before, where, you know, the dinosaur comes through downtown and then like wreaks havoc on everything. Basically every Godzilla movie. So it's like, I don't know. Why do we need to rehash that same story again with Chris Pratt? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, but hey, it could work. It could be a lot of fun. I could be completely wrong. I hope I am completely wrong, because I would like to continue this franchise with another great dinosaur film. just like the first Jurassic Park and just like Jurassic World. So fingers crossed that this announcement is a clever marketing ploy that's also going to instill some confidence in us that when we walk out of Jurassic World 2, we can be pumped and excited for this next film that's going to be released in 2021. So sound off below in the comments section with your thoughts about Jurassic World. Are you excited about Jurassic World 2? What do you think about them telling us that in 2021 we're getting a Jurassic World 3 when we haven't even seen the second one yet? Let us know down below. Mads Mikkelsen, Vanessa Hudgens, Catherine Winnick, and Matt Lucas are teaming up for Polar, which will be distributed by Netflix next year. Link for the Deadline article in the description box below. So this news kind of surprised me. And if you watched last week's episode, or you just watched the news segment from last week's episode, we talked about how Michael Fassbender is going to be in the Kung Fury movie that they're remaking based off of the short 30-minute film online. And we also talked about why I think that's a little strange because of like the level of talent he has as an actor, coming back to do a goofball movie like that with the cast that they've already announced. And when Deadline dropped this article, I did have one of those moments pop up in my head because again, Mads Mikkelsen, just like Michael Fassbender, very, very talented actor. And to see him coming in to do this, I was like, oh, this could be interesting, but who's directing this? So when I looked at who is directing this, it was Jason Aukerlund, who really doesn't have a feature film like under his belt, but on his IMDb, he has a lot of directing credits for like music videos and music related content. So I was like, okay, so he's not like brand new, but he is brand new in the sense that he doesn't really have like something of a feature film that like we can go back and reference to see how he's going to tell long form stories, right? So I was like, okay, this is going to Netflix, and I may be in the minority here, but if you tell me that Mads Mikkelsen is going to be in a movie with a few other very talented actors in either film or TV, but talented nonetheless, and it's going to go straight to Netflix with a director that this could be his first venture or his first foray into film and directing for feature films, are we just using Netflix as kind of like a safe zone? Because if that's the case, that's a bit of a bummer because just like Michael Fassbender, who's so talented, Mads Mikkelsen, very talented. So to see him step into this role and to have my expectations set at like this could just be a film that's getting dumped on Netflix is kind of a bummer because as we discussed just 2 stories ago with the Disney streaming service and how I hope that they're able to drop these feature films on their streaming service that kind of gets on top of the plateau to create something brand new to really like get streaming service movies like to that next level. Like when you hear Michael Fassbender or you hear Mads Mikkelsen's in a film, you hope that that film is going to be as good as they are talented as actors. So the story that it's based off of is pretty dope. It sounds like it could be a cool story because it's about an assassin who's retired and his company puts a hit out on him because they view him as a liability going forward for their long-term success. So they hire all these new young hitmen to go after him. And so he's got to kind of come out of retirement, but just to save himself, and maybe 1 or 2 other things will pop up through the story that kind of leads him on a journey of more than just trying to survive, but kind of like trying to survive plus revenge. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But the story sounds really cool. So hopefully when the film drops on Netflix, it is as good as the story sounds, and it is as good as the talent level in this film leads me to believe it could be. And even though this is Jason's first featured film that he's going to be directing and it's going straight to Netflix, hopefully that's not a negative. Hopefully that's just like, hey, we're giving this guy a shot, and you can't blame people for giving the guy a shot. If he hits it out of the park, that's a great shot that they gave him, and now he might start getting more films. And who knows, this could be the guy that like takes that feature film for Netflix and like that status and bumps it up a little bit as opposed to like what we have been getting so far online. So fingers crossed it does deliver and we can get excited about it and everything is a smash and we can all like turn on whatever the next show is on our Netflix queue that we enjoy watching or have been waiting to watch, and we don't miss a beat there. Hopefully it's not a bummer. Sound off below in the comments with your thoughts. Honorable mentions: Netflix is suing its competitor Cinema for patent infringement. Danny Boyle and John Hodge are working on a script for Bond 25. Octavia Spencer and Isabel Moner join Mark Wahlberg for the new comedy Instant Family. Wonder tops the national home video sales chart for DVD and Blu-ray sales. Sam Rockwell will be voicing Ivan the Silverback Gorilla in the new Disney drama, The One and Only Ivan. And that wraps up the news for this week. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week as we talked about a couple news stories that dropped that I thought were of note and wanted to share with you here. Appreciate you guys also throwing your comments below with your reactions or thoughts to those stories. If at any time you did enjoy the new segment, go ahead and give me that thumbs up, because the thumbs up helps people who like movie-related shows find this movie-related show on YouTube. All right, we're gonna go ahead and segue now directly into the movie review segment. I was able to get out to the theater to see 2 films this past weekend. That is Annihilation and Game Night. These are spoiler-filled reviews, so if you have not seen these films yet and you do not want them to be spoiled, you may just want to skip past the movie reviews to what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray, what's hitting theaters this week, and Certified Rad. If you don't mind spoilers though, let's go ahead and roll those movie reviews. Friends hanging out, sharing laughs, drinks, victories, and defeats, all in the name of fun and camaraderie. This has been the normal routine for this group, and the routine so far has been good. There isn't one game in particular that's played repeatedly, and the faces do change periodically, but the core group has remained faithful to the evening shenanigans. A surprise visit sparks new life into the evening, as well as a new game. So, does Game Night deliver on the chaotic fun and humor delivered in the trailers, or are we gonna need to put this game back in the closet on the shelf? Let's dive in and take a look in this review. The idea of a comedy mystery was actually appealing to me, and I'm happy to report that this film does deliver. The trailers do not mislead us at all. What's in the trailers is exactly the type of humor that we get on the big screen. In fact, the humor that's present in the trailers is just the tip of the comedic iceberg. However, I did have an issue with the marketing campaign that led up to the release of this film. As the story progresses, it builds and builds and builds to some very comedic moments that did get laughs so loud in the theater I was in that some of the following dialogue after those jokes was a little bit muffled. However, other jokes that were building and building are in the trailers, and because of that, we knew the joke was coming, and we have all of this buildup for something we've already seen over a dozen times. So there was a mixture of, oh my goodness, that was surprising and incredibly humorous, matched with, oh, that's the buildup for the joke we saw in the trailer. Got it. But as I just stated, those moments in the trailers were just the tip of the iceberg. I was incredibly surprised and impressed by the depth of some of the jokes with regards to the writing. The running joke about hooking up with a celebrity, the creepy neighbor and his dog who once was a part of Game Night, the game itself. There's plenty of quality writing in this film that actually did elevate it from just enjoyable to very enjoyable for me personally. Also, the characters all had great on-screen chemistry together too, which was a concern for me walking into the film, because I was curious if they'd be able to pull it off. When you have so many characters, and then they're going to split and go different directions, sharing and competing for screen time, will those characters be able to shine on their own in their own separate moments, or are they just going to work in the big collective group that is part of Game Night? Happy to report they all did a fine job together, and they all did a fine job in their own separate moments. Again, going back to the writing, I do believe great attention to detail was paid when they were crafting these jokes and crafting characters with character development. As a comedy, this film could have easily gone the route of feeling very thin and feeling very two-dimensional, where it's simply just, here's the characters, now here's the beginning, now here's the middle, now here's the end. And I was surprised at the levels that we get to see in each of the characters as the story progresses. We get a little bit more and a little bit more of who these characters are. And again, going back to the writing, each of these 3 teams, the 3 couples, all go separate routes to try and solve the mystery to win the game. They each have their own journey to go on before they all eventually reconnect to continue on with the game collectively. The writing, job well done. Game Night is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I am definitely recommending a big screen viewing of this film. The theater I was in was loaded with folks, and again, we were all just laughing hysterically at some of these moments, so much so that I want to go back and see it again so I can hear what was said after some of the jokes land because of how loud we were laughing in the theater. It's that much fun. I enjoyed the comedy and how the jokes landed, the writing overall, as well as the character development, and the on-screen chemistry that all the characters have. And most importantly, I believe this film delivered on what it intended to deliver on. A clever comedy mystery that looks at the value of relationships in both family and friends. And because of that, this film is getting both high fives from this guy. Game night is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out. A mysterious asteroid has landed on Earth and created a colorful, translucent barrier that is expanding. Humanity has sent teams of people through what is being called the Shimmer to investigate the phenomenon and bring back samples for study. Only one man has made it out of the Shimmer alive, and his life hangs in the balance if his wife is able to figure out a solution to keep him alive. So, does Annihilation deliver on a science fiction thriller, or does the Shimmer fade to gray? Let's dive in and take a look in this review. Alex Garland returns to the science fiction world of cinema. He continues his stories, which are examinations about what it means to be alive. However, this story is much more nuanced than Ex Machina, which was a bit straightforward. Initially, at the start of this film, we aren't really sure kind of what's going on. We have a general idea, but we're not really sure kind of what's happening in this world because of how everything jumps around with the story, moving between timelines. And unfortunately, it takes almost half the movie to really sink into the meat of the main timeline so that we really understand what's going on, what the stakes are, and who is involved with this story. Much time is given to the backstory and the emotional motivations of the character Lena, who is played by Natalie Portman. And I feel a lot of that screen time was unnecessary, even though she is the main character and we would expect her character to have the most screen time. Because this film has a runtime of just under 2 hours, I feel like a lot of those backstory sequences could be completely cut to kind of even lessen the runtime, even though it is under 2 hours. As well as, we can cut out some of those other scenes where it shows us that we're at the end of the movie, even though we don't realize that's the confirmed ending of the film until the ending of the film. But using context clues, even at the beginning, we know, oh, this sequence is going to tie us to the end of the film. In all, though, this movie does a really good job exploring the concept of what it means to create life. The alien presence on Earth is reshaping life within the Shimmer. And it's doing this based on what it perceives, but in a creative and occasionally terrifying way. The world within the Shimmer was everything I literally hoped for from what I saw in the trailers. It was beautiful and horrifying all at the same time. The world also had 3 different aesthetics, so the time and attention paid to creating the world within the Shimmer was spectacular. The daytime looked like we were walking through a dream. The evenings were dark and dangerous. The finale, on the beach, was beautiful and imaginative. Again, the time spent just developing this world within the Shimmer, spectacular, knocked it out of the park, loved it so much. Curiously though, the characters in this film didn't feel as real as the world within the Shimmer. I found that to be kind of odd. Each of the characters, if I had to draw a comparison, reminded me of the characters that you meet in like a Predator franchise, where you know that they're not going to make it out by the end of the film, so you're literally just sitting there watching them going, you're gonna be dead soon. And the whole point of watching them is for them to either add a moment of comedy, a moment of tension, some insight to develop and move the main character forward in the story. But ultimately, we're just left watching, waiting to see how ultimately they're going to die. However, even though they didn't really feel 100% real in this story, their screen time was enjoyable. And each of their characters was unique enough that their characters were enjoyable as well. To summarize, the world within the Shimmer, written incredibly well. The other characters outside of Portman, not so much. And I won't go into spoilers on this show either about how all of these characters eventually eat it, because that's actually one of the more creative aspects in storytelling for this particular film. Annihilation is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I am going to recommend a big screen viewing of this film if you enjoy science fiction movies or films that will make you think. This film, just like Alex Garland's last film, is written so well that you can't help but want to talk about it once you leave the theater. This film is about creating life, new life, from existing life. It explores the idea of arriving somewhere new, slowly integrating into that world. But as you're integrating, you're slowly consuming everything and taking over, thus creating something new from the old. Also, this review wouldn't be complete if I didn't give you this warning. Once Natalie Portman's character hits the beach, don't leave the theater. This is not the time for a refill. Do not go use the restroom. Stay in your seat. The ending might surprise you. The ending might confuse you. The ending might impress and wow you. The ending of this film could do a lot of things, but it will for sure get you talking once you leave the theater. And because of that, I feel like it did deliver on what it intended to deliver on as a film. So, it's getting both high fives from this guy. Annihilation is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out. And that concludes the movie review segment. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what's arriving in theaters this week, what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray for your home theater this week, and also Certified Rad. So let's go ahead and see what's dropping at your local cinema house this week. In theaters this week, Death Wish and Red Sparrow. Looking forward to both of these films for completely different reasons. First, let's start with Death Wish. Death Wish looks like it's just going to be a fun kind of revenge tale with Bruce Willis coming unhinged and becoming the street vigilante, something similar or akin to The Punisher. So everything the trailer showed me lead me to believe that this is just going to be a straight up action flick. Minimal story, but enough story that we understand kind of what's going on, and I'm perfectly fine with that. It looks like, again, Bruce Willis is coming completely unhinged. He's off the reservation. He is just out there, and he is on the hunt. He is set loose, and I cannot wait to see what happens in this film as far as the action sequences are concerned, because in the trailer, when he picks up that guitar and just smashes it across the dude's face, I was like, yep, I'm in on this film. Can't wait to see this. Might check it out Thursday night, maybe Friday, but definitely cannot wait to see this film on the big screen. Next up is Red Sparrow, Jennifer Lawrence's next flick. So I know there was a lot of jokes and everything else going around online because people have been asking for a solo Black Widow film from Marvel, and then Red Sparrow drops and everybody goes, well, I guess somebody else heard us and they decided to make the movie for us with a different name. So the trailers lead me to believe that this is going to be like an intense spy thriller that's got some really intense action scenes. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that this will be like Eastern Promises, because some of the fight scenes in that were absolutely brutal. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be at that level, because Eastern Promises, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. Great film. But I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't believe that this film is going to be as intense or as aggressive as Eastern Promises. But it does look like it's going to keep our attention, and it does look like it's going to deliver on the spy thriller that we probably haven't seen in a while on the big screen. Jennifer Lawrence is an incredibly talented actress, so I'm looking forward to seeing what she brings to this role and how believable she is with that Russian accent from beginning to end. So overall, I think both of the films coming out this weekend look like they're just going to be a lot of fun to see if you like action or spy movies. And I think that gives us something to look forward to. Again, if those types of films are like what you look forward to arriving on the big screen. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray for your home theater this week. On DVD and Blu-ray this week, Murder on the Orient Express, Coco, Darkest Hour, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Just Getting Started. So out of these 5 films dropping on DVD and Blu-ray this week, I have seen and reviewed 4 of those movies. I have not seen Just Getting Started. So before we take a look at the films that I have seen and reviewed, I'm going to go ahead and throw a card right here. So if you click on that, that will actually take you right to the movie review playlist. And you can see all of my reviews for all of these films and others that I've already reviewed for this channel. So let's go ahead and dive into the 4 out of 5 films that I have seen and reviewed, again, on that playlist that just popped up. So first, let's take a look at Murder on the Orient Express with Kenneth Branagh. I enjoyed my time with this movie. It wasn't a great film. It wasn't a terrible film. There's some things in it that I really enjoyed, especially some of the ways that they shot certain scenes on the train. They had like this above view, like a bird's eye view of things. So like you'd see people moving through the cabins. And I really enjoyed that because on the train, right, it's a small confined space. So we're getting a lot of tighter camera angles and stuff like that because we don't have a lot of room to play with. So when they broke away from that and they started doing the bird's eye view, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. The characters in it are fun. They're fine. They're, you know, there's nothing spectacular. There's no breakout stars that I remember from this film. Again, you can go back and watch my review. I'll give you more information there. But overall, I just enjoyed my time at the movies with this film. It didn't wow me. It didn't disappoint me. And it gave me exactly what I wanted when I walked in. And I was happy with it. Next up, Coco. Coco is my most viewed review on the channel. So go check that out if you have the time. I enjoyed Coco. Again, it was a really fun movie. I really liked the visuals of the film a lot. However, towards the end of the film, I feel like the story started to get a little lost in the main story that it wanted to tell, because I thought everything was about one thing, and then as we get to the end, it kind of shifts abruptly, and I'm like, wait, so was the point about family? Was the point about him needing his family's approval? Was the point about him trying to figure something out with music? Like, all of a sudden, like towards the end, it kind of shifts a little bit, and I was like, wait, what is this movie about? And then the ending resolves it, and you're like, oh, okay. So there's just this weird little disjointed section towards the end, but otherwise, I enjoyed my time in the movie a lot. Again, music in it is good, and the visuals in it are great, and I love the way that the different worlds looked. So for more information on my thoughts about Coco, go ahead and check out the review that's on the channel right now. Next up, Darkest Hour. Again, another film that I enjoyed in the theater. This is the third film about the story of Dunkirk I've seen. I saw Churchill, I saw Dunkirk, and now The Darkest Hour. So all of these films kind of deal with the same problem that's all leading towards what happens on Dunkirk, but this one specifically takes a look more at Winston Churchill and what he had to become as a leader, because he wasn't the first choice for prime minister. In fact, it was almost through a bit of reluctance that he even got the position. So this film really does a good job kind of looking at that aspect of it and kind of who Churchill was as a man and as a leader. Really enjoyed it. Gary Oldman, I think, did a knockout performance with it, and I would not be surprised if he wins the Oscar for Best Actor this year for his performance in this role. For more info, go ahead and head over to that movie review playlist and check out my review of Darkest Hour. Next up, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This film was a really good movie. However, it is incredibly dark and incredibly depressing. There's not a lot of joy in this film, and even some of the characters in it, they lead such terrible lives. It's hard to really like invest in them because you just don't like them, like who they are in this film. Sam Rockwell being one of those characters. He's really not a great guy. You don't really sympathize with him at all. He's literally a terrible person. And then like towards the end of the film, they try and like redeem him, but it doesn't really work because this whole movie, they've just been highlighting how much of a bad guy he is. So there's just a lot of like negativity in this film. So when you walk out, at least when I walked out of the theater, I was emotionally drained. I was like, that was a really good movie, but it's so depressing and dark that I was like, I saw it once and once was enough. And again, as I stated at the very beginning, I haven't seen Just Getting Started, but if you have, go ahead and let us know about this film in the comment section below. All right, and now it's time for my favorite segment of the show. You guys never know what's going to drop, but I can guarantee that whatever drops will most definitely be certified rad. This week for Certified Rad, we're actually going to look at a story that takes place in Texas about a children's pastor who saw an additional need in his community and he acted on it. So what did he do? He opened up an auto shop for women who are short on cash but long on car troubles. So what does all of that mean? What does it entail? What is he doing? How is he helping the community? Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from the article that you can find in the description box below. So Pastor Chris Williams was driving home one night and he actually saw a mother and her kid walking along the side of the highway. So he pulled over and asked them if they needed a ride home, and he asked why they were walking, and she said that her car had been in the shop for months and she just didn't have the money to get it fixed, so it's just been sitting in the shop and she couldn't do anything with it. So at that moment, he immediately saw that there is a need in his community to try and create an auto garage to help these mothers get their cars out and get them back on the road, because he lives in a rural area, and if you don't have a car, you can't get to work. And if you can't get to work, you don't make money. If you don't make money, you can't get a better car, or you can't get the car that you have fixed to get you back to work. So he sees that there's this vicious cycle that exists, really complicating life in his area. So he borrowed some money, he got some donation money together, and he opened up what he refers to as God's Garage. And this is a non-profit that specializes in helping single mothers, widows, as well as wives of deployed military members. So according to the article, at any given time, there's at least 5 to 10 men from the community inside the auto shop, lending their talents and their skills as mechanics to actually help fix these cars for free so that these women can get their kids to school, can get them to the doctors so they can get to work. It's just an incredible program where it's just men in the community coming together and stepping up to the plate to really help out and take a leadership role to promote positive change and support in their community. In the article, it also states how some of the car parts that are needed for some of these vehicles are donated by local businesses, or money is given to this nonprofit so that they can purchase the parts, again, so the women in the community don't have to come out of pocket and they can have a safe, reliable transportation to get their kids to school, the doctor, or to get themselves to work. And no matter your religious affiliation, if you even have a religious affiliation, maybe you don't, no matter what, when you feel that you're being called, when life is calling you and they say, look, here's an opportunity for you to help out the community, and you feel that inside and then you act on it, and then you bring that type of positive change to your community, you can guarantee that that is most definitely certified rad. And that wraps up this week's show. Thank you guys so much for spending another Monday morning with me here on YouTube for Brunansky's Vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed all of the topics that we discussed. Hope you enjoyed the movie reviews as well. If you did, and at any time you found yourself smiling, go ahead and give me that thumbs up, because the thumbs up actually helps other people who like movie-related shows find this movie-related show right here on YouTube. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here because I've got to get over to Facebook Live because we have a live stream that we're gonna do right now after this show. All right, everybody, have a great week. Thank you again for stopping by. If you haven't clicked subscribe, now would be a great time to go ahead and do that. Again, don't forget to give me the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. PST right here on YouTube for a brand new episode of Brunansky's Vlog. All right, everybody, I'm heading over to Facebook Live. See you there. Take care. Bye-bye. Hi, I'm Jeremy Brunansky, and you've just finished watching another episode of Brunansky's Vlog. Along with the weekly show, we also have special segments, as well as DVD and video on-demand reviews that you may want to check out. Thank you so much for watching this brand new episode, and we'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. PST for another brand new episode of Brunansky's Vlog. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.